We open this episode seeing Damon enter an empty throne room. It's clear he's still dreaming. Suddenly he sees teenage Rhaenyra again, and she walks towards him from the throne, speaking in High Valyrian. Damon asks her to slow down, and she tells him, "You hate me because he loved me more than you." Damon immediately decapitates her. He walks over to her severed head, and she looks up at him and says, "There's a raven." Damon wakes up to Simon Strong telling him a raven has arrived from Dragonstone. Damon gets out of bed. Simon updates him on the progress Kristen Cole has made in the Riverlands, and that his army has grown 3 times larger. Damon then meets with a young member of House Tully in hopes of getting their support for Team Black. The young man tells Damon he must speak with his ill grandfather about this. Damon tells the young man to basically kill his grandfather so the young man can grant Damon access to his army and walks out the room, leaving the young man speechless. Damon was so unhinged for this but was clearly speaking out of frustration. We cut to Rhaenys walking towards the docks on Driftmark. She notices Alan and begins to walk towards him. He greets her as my lady and she instructs him to address her as princess if we're holding to formalities. She begins to touch his face and expresses that his mother must have been very beautiful. It's clear Rhaenys also sees Corlys in him. She is fully aware that this is Corlys' son. Corlys quickly appears and interrupts by calling out to Rhaenys in an irritable tone. He then dismisses Alan and approaches Rhaenys. She asks Corlys why didn't he tell her about Alan saving his life. He tells her he didn't think it was relevant. Rhaenys tells Corlys that Alan should be risen up and not hidden beneath the tides. Rhaenys informs him that Baela has called her to Dragonstone. Corlys asks Rhaenys about Rhaenyra's whereabouts. Rhaenys responds to his inquiry by saying, "Hopefully she's trying to pull us from the abyss," and begins to leave. Next, we see Alicent in her living quarters, holding a miniature dragon figure. She accidentally breaks it when a maester enters the room to bring her the medieval Plan B tea. He informs her he brewed it himself. Alicent thanks him. He asks if the recipient has any other needs. She tells him no. I think the maester knows the tea is for Alicent. Before he leaves, Alicent asks the maester if he thinks Viserys made the right choice choosing Aegon to ascend the throne. The maester gives a very strategic response by simply saying he wasn't sure. You guys never tell your employer your true thoughts. He exits the room and Alicent begins drinking the moon tea. We then see Baela updating the small council on Sir Criston's growing army. One council member asks if Baela has heard anything from her father, Daemon. She sadly responds no. The same council member expressed his concern about the lack of leadership during the Queen's absence. Rhaenys tells him she's trying her best to steer the ship. He begins to protest her leading the council and quickly falls silent when Lord Corlys enters the room. Rhaenys then explains they will not make any moves until Queen Rhaenyra returns. Suddenly we see Sir Criston and his army threaten a small house with death if they do not pledge allegiance to King Aegon. The Lord of the House calls Sir Criston out for his treasonous behavior and tells him he's not worthy of being a White Cloak. Sir Criston tells him this is an honorable death for a traitor and that he should be thanking him. He then decapitates the head of the Lord in front of his house. We cut to Aegon expressing his frustration after he learned Daemon has claimed Harrenhal. He further is angered when he learns Aemon and Sir Criston have been communicating and discussing war plans without him. Aemon, clearly annoyed and still upset about his humiliation at the brothel, begins to verbally dress Aegon down in High Valyrian and asks if he had better plans he would like to express. Aegon, clearly unable to speak his ancestral language fluently, insecurely responds, "I can have to make a war" in High Valyrian. He then sinks into his seat and remains silent as the meeting continues. Larys meets with Alicent and begins to give her an update on Sir Criston's progress. Larys tells her he notices she hasn't been herself lately. I think Larys is fully aware of Alicent's secret relationship with Sir Criston and her requesting the moon tea earlier. She expresses to him that her lord husband, who kept things peaceful, has only been dead for a week. and the realm is already at the brink of war. So forgive her if she isn't herself at the moment. She then says people will believe what they want to believe and will accept the inevitability of war. Next, we see Damon being haunted at Harrenhal again. He wakes up and sees a figure who appears to be Aemon walking through the dark, haunted halls of the cursed castle. He follows the mysterious figure, armed with his sword. This person turns around and we see Damon staring at himself with a patch over his eye. He goes in for the attack, and suddenly he appears in a room with Alice Rivers. She educates him about the history of the cursed castle. She also reads Damon for filth about his intentions with claiming the castle and his possible resentment towards Rhaenyra for replacing him as Viserys' heir. She gives him an elixir to supposedly help him sleep. Suddenly we see him in a meeting with the current Lord of the Blackwoods. While he's speaking, Damon hallucinates his dead wife, Laena, pouring wine for everyone at the table. I would have fled from Harrenhal, but I guess Damon doesn't mind facing ghosts and his own demons through the night. We cut back to Aegon at a small council meeting. While the rest of the council is discussing various topics relating to the governing of King's Landing, Aegon interrupts them and says, "You bore me. You all bore me." He exits the room. He walks into the king's quarters and stumbles upon his mother Alicent searching for Viserys' books. She asks him where his father's books were located. He tells her he had them removed. She quickly responds, "You got rid of books with centuries full of knowledge?" He reiterates, "I only had them removed, not burned." He tells Alicent he feels no one on his council is listening to him. Alicent then asks him if he thinks wearing the crown gives him wisdom. She sits down with her glass of wine and explains the men on his council have earned their seats. She tells him she hoped he would listen and learn and possibly become half the king his father was. He interrupts her and tells her to tread lightly. She defiantly responds, "Or what? Will you hang me like you did your rat catchers? Or send me away like you did your hand?" Aegon then responds, "What will you have me do, mother?" She simply responds, "Nothing." I really liked Alicent telling Aegon the hard truth about his foolish decisions. It was something he needed to hear, but the way she expressed herself did nothing but exacerbate Aegon's insecurities. We then catch up with Sir Criston and Sir Gawain preparing for battle and chatting at their encampment. Sir Gawain asks Sir Criston why he insisted on attacking the castle in broad daylight when Dragonstone is right across the bay. Sir Criston instructed him to stick to the plan and asked if he was scared. Rhaenyra finally returns to Dragonstone and meets with her small council. Jacaerys angrily asks her where was she. He was clearly worried and upset that he didn't know where his mother was. She tells him she met with Alicent. He interrupts her and says she could have been taken or killed. She quickly responds, "I inherited 80 years of peace from my father and needed to see if she could resolve this peacefully before going to war." She informs her council she now knows there's no peaceful path to victory. Jacaerys suggests she sends a dragon and offers to confront Sir Criston Cole. She tells him no and says she will go and meet Cole. Jacaerys disagrees with her going to battle because if she dies, there's no point in continuing the war over the throne. Princess Rhaenys offers to meet with Cole with her biggest and battle-tested dragon, Meleys. Rhaenyra had a look of concern, but no one protested this plan. Rhaenys simply smiles and walks away from the table. She gave such bad bitch energy in this scene, and I loved it. Next, we see Aegon sulking in a room. He knocks over a pitcher of wine and marches out of the room. We're then hit with a montage of everyone getting ready for battle. Rhaenys approaches Meleys, rests her head on the dragon, and tells her, "We're off to war again, old girl," in High Valyrian. Aegon is in the dragon pit and is greeted by his beautiful golden dragon Sunfire. We finally see Sunfire. At this moment, it seems like Aegon only feels loved by his dragon. He flies out of King's Landing with Sunfire. Simultaneously, we see Rhaenyra tell Jacaerys that a Targaryen on the throne isn't just a king or a queen, but a protector of the realm, and begins to tell him about Aegon's dream of a song in ice and fire. We are now in battle. Sir Criston's soldiers look into the sky and see that Rhaenys and Meleys are approaching the battlefield. She quickly swoops down and begins burning Team Green soldiers. Sir Criston tells his men to send the signal. We see a few men shoot inflamed arrows into the air, and another man blows his horn after seeing the arrows. It's then revealed that Aemon is waiting in the woods with Vhagar. Suddenly he looks up and sees his brother Aegon flying towards the battle, annoyed by his brother's stupidity. He calls his brother an idiot and tells Vhagar, "Not yet," in High Valyrian. Rhaenys sees Aegon approaching her and smiles and tells Meleys to attack in High Valyrian. Aegon yells Dracarys while approaching Meleys. Sunfire breathes fire at Meleys. Rhaenys and Meleys dodge the fire and attack Sunfire from below. We see Meleys viciously claw at Sunfire's chest and belly. Sunfire is hurt badly. He drops from the sky, harming soldiers below with his hot blood leaking from the creature's body, but recovers and flies back up towards Meleys. Meleys then attacks Sunfire from behind and partially rips off his wing. Aemon then enters the battle with Vhagar. While entangled with Meleys, Aegon seems happy to see his brother coming to his rescue until he realizes he's about to get a face full of dragon fire from Vhagar. Aemon yells Dracarys, and Vhagar blows hot dragon fire in the direction of Rhaenys and Aegon. We briefly see Meleys quickly dodge the attack, while Sunfire falls from the sky, yelling in pain along with Aegon. Aemon and Rhaenys continue to battle with their dragons. Meleys swoops in from below and grabs Vhagar's foot. To propel herself to get closer to her chest area, it begins clawing at Vhagar. We see that she does some damage to the huge dragon, but not as much as Sunfire. It seems like Vhagar has tougher skin to penetrate. We see a few soldiers staring up at the sky and appear to be in awe of the fiery dragon-on-dragon battle. Meleys manages to wrestle Vhagar to the ground and quickly flies away. Vhagar falls, shakes the earth beneath the soldiers' feet, and kills many soldiers on the battlefield. We also see Sir Criston fall and is knocked out by the impact. This was such a good battle sequence. I feel it was directed in a way that was very immersive for the audience. Next, we see Meleys and Rhaenys survive the encounter with Vhagar. We see that Rhaenys looks visibly exhausted. Meleys looks back at her, and she instructs Meleys to turn back around. I'm not sure what was going through Rhaenys' mind, but I wish she would have just returned back to Dragonstone. She heads back towards the smoky battlefield, searching for the gigantic Vhagar. She flies towards the castle of House Daunton, and Vhagar performs a surprise attack from below and bites down on Meleys' neck. Meleys looks back at Rhaenys one last time. Based on the look on Rhaenys' face, it seems like she could feel the life force and psychic link between them fading. Our beautiful queen who never was accepts defeat and falls to her death. We cut to Sir Criston finally waking up and begins walking towards the crash site of King Aegon and Sunfire. He enters the woods and finds Aemon standing over his brother, armed with his sword, as if he was about to kill his brother. Sir Criston quickly calls out to Aemon and asks, "Where's the king?" Aemon, with the king's dagger in his hand, points to his brother's nearly lifeless body. We see both a badly injured Sunfire and Aegon lying on the ground. Sir Criston, devastated by the sight of his injured king, falls to his knees. The episode fades to black. This episode finally gives the audience what they wanted to see. Rhaenyra finally accepts the inevitability of enacting violence and begins to be active in this war. So many of the characters' storylines were propelled forward, and we finally got to see the Battle of Rook's Rest. The dragon battle was well directed and kept the audience on the edge of their seats. I am so excited to see the aftermath of this battle in the next episode. I'll rate this episode an A+. If you enjoyed this review, please like, share, and subscribe.